year is 1944. The U.S. has been at war with Japan in the Pacific Theater for around 2 years and are currently planning Operation Overlord, or more commonly known as D-Day. Meanwhile, in the small town of Breckenridge, Minnesota, 17-year-old Alwyn Martinson volunteers for the Navy.
Well, my two older brothers were in the service. My dad had only a 160-acre farm. I had 3 younger brothers, so there was no chance of deferment, and I didn't want to go in the Army, so I enlisted in the Navy, and Dad was so proud he signed for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So why the Navy? Why didn't you want to go in the Army?
Well, you're going to have to walk.
Martinson reported to the USS Logan at Pearl Harbor in January of 1945 and deployed into the Pacific with a mission to Iwo Jima.
I guess you never think anything about it because you knew you were going to be in the service. You knew it. Because that war wasn't anywhere near being over. Well, that was a troop ship. We had 24 boats for hauling troops in. And that was our job, to haul the troops into the beach for the landings. Iwo Jima was our first stop, went in, hauled troops in there, and then the next one was Okinawa.
He describes what it was like at Iwo Jima and what he went through during the assault and eventual victory.
It was hell. Now, to me, where the side we came in on, the Suribachi was to the left, and I think it was about 8 miles long or something like that, and not that wide, and volcanic ash. We had work shoes on, but you'd have to walk in the ashes and the water on the beach there, and the water would run in over the top of your shoes. They had to have protection for the bombers, and if they could get to Iwo Jima, they could have fighter planes to escort them, because otherwise a fighter plane couldn't fly all the way from Guam to Tokyo. See, but the bombers could. Me and 3 other guys in the boat were supposed to be leading the tanks in, and I had my radio in there. But on the way in, I guess they didn't want us because they shot the antenna off my radio right by my ear. Hauling supplies in afterwards, and well, then we got unloaded, and they dropped a shell right down between the 4 of us. So I called the ship and I says, "You'll have to wait for us, we're taking on a lot of water." Well, they were out to sea, and all my ship had was some 40 millimeters and 1 5-inch gun. They couldn't protect themselves much. And so they had to get out there with the other ships, with the cruisers and battleships and stuff. So they said, "We can't wait for you." So we circled for about 45 minutes, and the Japs kept shooting, but we never hit us again. Well, then we didn't have any place to go except we snuck up on the island. And we crawled up to the front of the boat and laid down, went to sleep. And if the Japs came around, they'd probably, why waste a bullet on those guys? They're dead.
Yeah.
To me, the best example I can give you is you're sitting in your house and a hailstorm comes up and breaks out the big picture window. Well, it's still hailing. You go out there and you cover that window with tarp or something, don't you? Or plywood. But are you standing looking for hailstones? We weren't thinking about the shells coming. We were doing what we had to do to keep that boat afloat. But if we were looking to see where the next shell was coming, well, by the time you see it, it's too late anyway. We had to stay there overnight, and no drafts came around. Well, then the next morning, then of course the ships came back in and they started coming in. Well, then I went back out to the ship. And
Alwyn recited from the USS Logan's ship log, reliving when they saw that fateful United States flag flying on the top of Mount Suribachi.
Yeah, this was in February of 45. There was a LCT, that's a landing craft, alongside with casualties, and then that was at 12:30, and then 1442, that would be 242, and there was a 238 alongside with casualties, and our sick bay is overflowing with patients. And yeah, during the mid-watch Friday morning, a Marine private, 5th Division, dies on board from wounds received in action against an organized enemy. On the 8 to 12 watch of February 23rd, we pulled into the transport area for night retirement. Japanese mortar still fell in the landing area. At 10:31, the word was passed, the Marines have raised the flag on Suribachi. And someone shouted, "Look, they're on top of the volcano." It was a some-sized snail, size waving in the breeze. Boy, that was something.
As soon as that U.S. flag raised on Iwo Jima, the Allies had the upper hand in the Pacific. With that, Japan became more desperate and risky with their offensive, sending in more Kamikaze planes. Alwyn remembers one that came directly at his ship.
They had to get control of Iwo Jima, and then of course, then we were getting close enough that the Kamikazes were coming. He was inexperienced. Okay, if this ship is lengthways here, and he should have come straight into the site, but he come at an angle, and there's cables sticking up, and he didn't see that, and it caught the wing, his wing of his plane caught one of the cables, and it kind of spun him off course, and he landed on the deck, and the plane was pretty flimsy, it busted open, and the bomb was laying on the deck. The deck crew, they just rolled the bomb off into the ocean, and they rolled him off with it, and the plane. I think I was more afraid of not getting my job done right, and somebody's going to lose his life because I wasn't doing my job. And if you're going to stand out there and what should I do, what should I do? Well, that isn't helping the situation. You know.
Burial at sea was also a normal occurrence every night on the USS Logan. And Alwyn remembers how haunting it was to this day.
All we do is you have them on a stretcher, and it's covered over with the American flag, so you don't see them. And it's always dark at night, and I don't know why, but they record where we are at. Well, they're never going to find that body again. But the sad part was that you're dumping that body, and you're thinking about those parents are never going to see that son of theirs again. No chance to have a funeral of a closure of any kind.
In 1945, the Pacific War entered its fourth bloody year. Japanese military units fought fiercely, ensuring that the Allied victory would come at an enormous cost. On July 26, 1945, a Portland-class heavy cruiser named the USS Indianapolis sped toward the small Allied-occupied island of Tinian. They carried something that would not only change the course of history, but the world. Alwyn remembers docking next to the USS Indianapolis after it had dropped off the atomic bomb codenamed Little Boy that would be dropped on Hiroshima.
Now, they were tied up next to us in Guam before they went out and got sunk. It's in the logbook. I copied the SOS message from them. After he unloaded the atom bomb on the island of Tinian, that was the little island by Guam and Saipan, and he come over there to Guam, and we had one guy in our ship that had a buddy on there. He went over and talked to him, and that guy on the Indianapolis told our guy that they hauled a big bomb over. Well, that wasn't supposed to have been said. We didn't know we were getting close because we didn't have any news what was going on around. See, like I say, when we came back to the States, we didn't know the bomb had been dropped. It had been dropped for 4, 5, 6 days. We didn't know it. And we didn't know till we pulled into Frisco and somebody started hollering and they said, the war is over. Because during that time that we were coming back into Frisco, the 2 bombs had been dropped and Japan surrendered. Of course, we had to occupy Japan, so we hauled troops in there too. And like I was exposed to that atom bomb then, and that they figured that's where I probably got my cancer from.
Alwyn would return to Minnesota in 1947 and start the rest of his life having lived an entire one already. A girl in a green dress caught his eye, and he married her, having 5 beautiful children.
We went to the dance, and she said, "You boys gotta dance and find somebody to dance with." Well, I saw this girl in this green dress, and I went over and asked her, and she's dancing. She was a good dancer. And I said to myself that I'm going to marry that girl. I knew, and that was the best choice I ever made.
As the world marks another year in the absence of many of these noble veterans, it becomes increasingly crucial to reflect on the significance of their contributions. World War II veterans were more than just soldiers on the front lines. They were the backbone of nations, the unsung heroes who bore the weight of the world on their shoulders. Their importance in shaping the course of history cannot be overstated, as they were at the forefront of defending freedom, democracy, and the values we hold dear. Alwyn is a living testament to the bravery of those who served in the Pacific during World War II. He may have faced darkness on the distant shores of the Pacific, but inspired everyone around him with the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit. This is Madison Quinn reporting for KFGO.